Thank you for joining us in another episode of Experience, Strength, and Hope. My name is Catherine, and our host Tony will be joining us shortly. Our goal is to bring stories that make you laugh, smile, and even cry, but most of all, give you hope. Please don't forget to support us by subscribing to our YouTube channel and following us on Spotify, Anchor FM, and Apple Podcasts. Again, I'm Catherine, and I hope you enjoy today's show.
All right, this is Antonio the Mayor, Tony the Mayor again, and I'm going to continue to talk to you a little bit about my podcast, and not my podcast, but about starting the podcast. And I think this is going to be the last thing I do on this, but I really want to encourage all those who think of starting the podcast. Go ahead and do it. You know, it's, like I said, it's fairly easy. The equipment you can purchase cheap. Don't have to go out on a limb and break yourself at the bank or break the bank. You know, but you can just come up with, like I said before, people use their iPhones. People have used a regular recording device such as the Zoom H5. They have used different audio interfaces to go straight to their computer or just to the computer with a USB mic. But it's something that can be done. Now, the hardest thing for me for podcasts is not the editing. A lot of people don't like to do the editing. They pay people to do it for them, and they just get frustrated with doing it. I like doing the editing part. I really do. It's just so much that you can go back and forth and do to make it sound different, to add music, to add a break or a commercial or whatever you want to do and plug something in the middle of a podcast at the end. It's just all that is in the production of the podcast. To me, is fun and it's interesting and it has my hands in it. So it's like me, I'm doing it. It's my hands. So I'm doing the work. I'm doing all that. And so by me doing that, I have control over how it's going to be, how it's going to sound. Not someone else on the other side of Bangladesh, you know, making changes for me because they say they're a podcast editor and I'm sending my stuff to them and they changing this and that. A lot of people take out different things. I take out the you hear that? And the and then, you know, I take those things out. But the hardest thing to me is sticking to my script. Some people don't write a script. I don't write a script either. What I do, I write a partial script, or I have it in my mind and have bullets or notes of what I'm going to talk about. And I have my topics and my questions for the podcast if I have a guest for that podcast. The first thing I want to know is, who are you? Tell me about yourself. And a lot of people think that people are not going to be interested in hearing about me, or people don't want to hear about me, but people do like true story from the heart. Like I said before, if you keep it real, you hear me? I said, if you keep it real, people want to listen. If you keep it honest about you, people will want to listen. They'll want to hear a few things about individual. We do it all the time. We watch the news. I mean, we watch Dateline, and we watch CBS This Morning. We watch The View. We watch these shows, and we don't know these people from Adam's House Cat. We don't know these people who are on these shows or some of the guests, but we found it interesting for them to tell their story. Look at Judge Greg Mathis. We look at the Judge Show. Look at Judge Judy. And now we even have Steve Harvey as the judge. We look at them people, and the people who come on those shows, lives are interesting to us. Believe it or not, we find it interesting. And we watch that. And we don't know them from anybody, but their stories is what makes it interesting. So one of the things that's hard for a lot of people to do, and something that's difficult for them to do, is to talk about themselves. When you ask them, tell me about you, we can talk about a lot of subjects. We can talk about we're interesting like me. I love going yard selling. I can tell about my experience of going yard sale, which I'm going to do a podcast on, or collecting stereo system, or watching YouTube videos, or people can talk about growing up hip hop and, and hearing hip hop music and where they were when this group first started, where they was when this person started singing and dancing, or, tell you about their city. I grew up in Chicago. I grew up in Detroit or Mississippi. Tell me about that. When you tell me about yourself, sometimes they tense up. So one of the hardest things for me is getting people just to be them. Be yourself. A microphone can kind of scare you sometimes, sitting in front of you, but be yourself. Can you just be yourself? Tell me about you. Tell me about when you experienced a financial breakdown, divorce, bankruptcy, children going astray, raising your kid, and what happened in that situation. Tell me about that. Tell me a story about what happened to you that you felt was a point in your life when you didn't think that you would ever make it again. You wouldn't be able to pull yourself out of. But somehow, some way, you pull yourself out of it. Tell me about the victory that's involved in your moment of defeat. Now, I know it might not have happened at that moment, but somewhere in there, you were able to be victorious. I taught a lesson once on Alpha and Omega. That's the beginning and the end. That at the beginning of a problem, we are in distress. We're calling out to God. Oh, God, help me. Do this for me, Lord. Or with your individual family member. At the beginning of the problem, you're asking your family member, help me out. I'm going through this. This is happening to me. I don't know what to do. You feel like you don't have any direction or any hope. This problem is so bad, all I can do is cry. And at the end, you're victorious. So Alpha and Omega, so the beginning, at the end, you're victorious. You're happy. Oh man, I made it. I did it. I've done this. But what about the middle? That's what I wanted to bring out. What did you do between your Alpha and Omega, your beginning and your end? What did you do when you were in the thick of it? Right there in the middle, when you couldn't see what happened in the beginning anymore, and you can't see an end to it. You're just down in the valley. You don't think you're ever going to bring yourself out. That's what I want people to talk about. And if I can get people just to relax and do that, we flow really smooth when they find out that it's just a microphone and you giving your story or your testimony or your experience of hope. And we have hope. So as you do these podcasts, whatever it is that you're going to do with them, you're going to do a podcast on gardening, stick to the gardening. Talk about it. Get guests on who are into gardening. Tell me something that's going to help me with my tomato plants every year that just don't seem to do right. My peppers are fine, but not my tomato plant. So if you're going to do it on crafting, tell me about the tools that you bought, the money you spent. The wood, when you're in Home Depot and you get that rush because you can smell the fresh wood being cut and you know that I'm about to make something beautiful. Tell your guests about that. Just incorporate it. You can incorporate your business with a podcast, as I said earlier, very easy. You can use the podcast to do your promoting if you want. Me, all I'm trying to do is promote lives, the way people have changed and things that they have brought themselves out of. I'm Tony the Mayor, and I hope that you have a fantastic day. So be strong, be encouraged, but most of all, be real. Thank you and have a blessed day.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Experience, Strength, and Hope. Come back and continue to listen on any of our other platforms such as YouTube, Spotify, Anchor.fm, and Apple Podcasts. We encourage you to not only listen, but also reach out and share your stories of experience, strength, and hope at bigdog0862@gmail.com or 785-307-4662. I'm Anthony Timms, and this has been another podcast of Experience, Strength, and Hope from Tony the Mayor Timms. Be blessed, be strong, and most of all, be real.